Hello everyone, welcome back. This is the continuation of 9th grade, chapter 2, History, Socialism in Europe and Russian Revolution. In the last video, we discussed about the personalities like Karl Marx, Friedrich Engels, Robert Owen, Louis Blanc, about their ideas and the other social parties which were emerging during those times, that is around 18th century, and how the society was formed. We discussed clearly in two videos. This video is about the Russian Revolution. So to understand better, we have to know what was happening in Russia during those times. So the Russian Revolution, Russia was ruled under monarch is none but a king, Tsar Nicholas II. There was fall of monarchy in February 1917. So here, that is fall of monarchy in the sense the king Tsar Nicholas II was removed from his kingship in February 1917. Socialists took over the government in Russia through the October Revolution of 1917. So as I already told you in the last video, socialism was everywhere. The idea of socialism was everywhere. But they had not taken it as a government. They had not, socialist people had not taken the power of government in Russia. So that happened through the October Revolution of 1714. So how did this happen? What happened in February and what happened in October? Let's discuss. How did this happen? What were the social and political conditions in Russia? Let's discuss. The Russian Empire in 1914. How was the Russian Empire? Emperor was Tsar Nicholas II. So he ruled Russia. Russia and its empire included present-day Finland, Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, parts of Poland, Ukraine, Belarus, Georgia, Armenia, and Azerbaijan. So these are the present place which were included in Russia during Tsar Nicholas II. Tsar Nicholas II wanted to spread his kingdom. So he was conquering almost all the parts which were around Russia. So these were the present day places which were under Tsar Nicholas II. So during that time, majority religion was Russian Orthodox Christianity. So Christianity prevailed. Empire also included Catholics and Protestants. These are the, as you all know, parts of Christianity, Christian religion itself, like how in Buddhism we have Shwetambaras and Digambaras. In Muslims we have Sunnis and Shias. The same way here, Catholics and Protestants also were there. Christianity, Orthodox Russians prevailed. Muslims were there, and also Buddhists were there. So this is what you are seeing. These are the places in Russia which were included under Tsar and the religions which were being followed. Then the lower strata of the society supported socialism in Europe. So the lower strata, in the sense the peasants, the workers, supported socialism. We discussed this in the last slide. That is during the idea of Robert Owen and Karl Marx. They were being seen in the countryside as well as in the city during this Russian Revolution. So industrialization, during the industrialization, we could see the glimpse of socialism. So to make this more clear, you can visit my last video so that it will be much more clear. So now, was Russia economically and socially ready for change? So this was what was in Russia. First thing, Tsar Nicholas II ruled. along with these places which he conquered. Then the religion that prevailed were Christianity, Muslim and Buddhist, and and lower strata supported socialism. Was Russia economically and socially ready for the change? Was Russia ready for socialism? Now, what is socialism? You all know very well. That is equality among all, whether it is rich or poor, division of property, equal distribution of property in the society. That is socialism. So now Tsar Nicholas II was the king. To bring up socialism, he has to come down. So how will this happen? Was Russia economically and socially ready for it? We will know this better by understanding the economy of Russia and society of Russia. So in your textbook, it is totally combined and given, that is society and economy of Russia. So we will just discuss in different parts, economy of Russia and society of Russia in two different parts. So now, present day Russian map, that is as I told you, these are Estonia, Finland, Lithuania, Belarus, Poland, Ukraine, Georgia, Armenia, Azerbaijan. All here is Russia. These are all different countries. This all was been included in Russia during Tsar Nicholas II. Now, Russian economy, how was it? It was mainly agriculturist economy. So, from where did they earn money? That is 85% of population was engaged in agriculturist sector. The cultivators produced for the market as well as for their own needs. Got the point? So agriculture was the main. They produced for the market as well as for their own needs. And industries were in pockets. Industries were in pockets means industries were less in number. Pockets means less in number. Petersburg and Moscow were the major industrial area. In Russia, only two areas were there as industrial, that is Petersburg and Moscow. But most of the production was carried by the craftsmen. What does this mean? Craftsmen are the people who are in villages preparing the necessary goods for the people. That is, the people who are agriculturists, they need shoes, they need cap, they need clothes, which was being produced by the craftsmen in the village. Okay, so industries were less, and whatever was being produced, whatever the needs were there, it was being produced by the craftsmen. In 1890, railways expanded. So when railways expanded, foreign investment increased. So what is this foreign investment? Other countries came to Russia and invested their money to grow their factory or earn profit. Okay, that is foreign investment. So when other country comes to your country and sets up industry or puts money, capital in the industry to earn profit, that is foreign investment. Okay, so in 1890s, railways expanded. Due to railway expansion, foreign investment increased. Due to foreign investment, when foreign investment increased, industries also increased. So coal production increased, iron and steel output quadrupled. So here coal production, it was doubled. Coal production was doubled. Why it was doubled? Because railways had expanded. During those days, how did the railway run? Through coal. So and also iron and steel output was quadrupled. Why iron and steel? Because again railway had expanded. They needed metal for railways, engines and all. So and buildings were being built, industries were being built. For that they needed iron rods, steel rods. So iron and steel output quadrupled. What is quadrupled? 4 times it was expanded. 4 times it was more. So coal production doubled, iron and steel output was quadrupled. Now let us see something about these growing industries. Now we came to know that railways expanded. Due to railway expansion, many industries also came up. Due to foreign investment, many industries came up. Most industries were the private property of industrialists who wanted profit maximization. So most of the industries were private property that were owned by an individual or a private group. Got it? So, and their main aim was profit maximization. They wanted profit. Okay, at any hook or crook, they wanted profit. Though there were regulations made by the government, so their main aim was profit. So they didn't look after the laborers, the workers' problem, the laborers' problem, their maintenance, hygiene. They did not say. As we already discussed during Industrial Revolution, how people suffered. So why did they suffer? Because the private industrialist did not see the hygiene or the living style of the workers. They just focused on profit maximization. They wanted more profit. Though there were regulations made by the government, though the government worked to ensure minimum wages and limited hours of work, often these rules were broken. Okay, so Tsar Nicholas was the king. He had made few rules in the favor of workers, in the favor of peasants, that they should have less working hours, they should have minimum wages, but often these rules were broken by the industrialists. It happens every day, in and out, that rules will be broken, but actually it must not happen. These were long working hours. I mean, there were long working hours up to 10 to 16 hours. So a normal person can work for only 8 hours. You can imagine, after 8 hours a person's mind shuts down. He cannot work. So only in any company, anywhere you go, you have to give 8 hours to that company. Got the point? Any person, any work, only 8 hours can be done. After that you need a break. But here workers had to work for 10 to 16 hours. You can imagine how hectic it was. And workers were accommodated in rooms and dormitories. Rooms and dormitories means small rooms, and dormitories are the places where people will sleep by shift. After 6 hours, one person will sleep. After that, he have to get up. The other person will come and sleep in that. That is dormitories. So, hope you came to know the condition during those industries. This is the second time that these points are coming up in your lesson. That is, the working condition was bad of the workers because the industries were the private property and they focused on profit maximization. Okay, there were long working hours and there were workers were accommodated in rooms and dormitories. Now these are the dormitories. People used to sleep here. People in the sense workers sleeping in bunkers. Okay, in a dormitory in pre-revolutionary Russia, they slept in shift and could not keep their families with them. So you can see, one person gets up from here, the other will come and sleep for 6 hours or 4 hours. He has to get up after that. Got the point? So these are the rooms and dormitories which were there during Russian Revolution. So now Russian society in cities, how they were. So we saw how industrial workers suffered. Now how society was there in cities. Workers migrated from village and settled in cities. They were divided by skill. Example, skill in the sense workers who had more skill, or for example here metal workers who know to cut the metal, who know to mold the metal, were considered themselves as aristocrats or superior. among the other workers. So within the workers itself, workers usually came from village to cities, and here they were divided among by skill. That is, metal workers felt they are superior or aristocrats than the other workers. Here women also were there, made up 31% of the factory labor force by 1914, but they were paid less compared to men. Okay, so metal workers were superior among the other workers, and women workers also were there, who were about 31%, and they were paid less than men. No doubt division was there, but workers did unite to strike work. Means what? Here no doubt there were division. Upper metal workers were upper, other workers lower, women were there. But when they were on strike, whenever they needed, when a person needed help, they united. Got the point? Means workers united when they were on strike against the employers on dismissal of their demand or working conditions. So whenever any worker wanted help for the sake of dismissal of the demand or working condition, all the workers united. So strikes in textile industries in 1896, 1897, and strikes in metal industries in 1902 were the examples for this unity. And here you can see the idea of socialism. So this unity shows the idea of socialism. Now, Russian society in countryside, how was it? Peasants cultivated most of the land. So in this was till now it was city side, now it is countryside. Peasants cultivated most of the lands, but most of the properties was owned by nobility. Nobility in the sense rich people. Crown means the king, and the Orthodox Church. It is just as in French Revolution, estate 1, estate 2, estate 3. Okay, like workers, peasants were also divided. That is, workers, metal workers were superior, other workers inferior. Like this, in peasants also, landowners were superior and laborers or workers were inferior. So lower cadre. So here also there was division. In Russia, peasants had no respect for nobility as they wanted the land of the nobles. So in Russia, peasants did not have respect for the rich people, basically. But in French it was not so. They respected the nobles. Unlike as it was observed during French Revolution in Brittany, where peasants respected nobles and fought for them. Here the example Abbasia and Mirabeau. Here Abbasia was a noble from a noble family, and Mirabeau was a priest. So though they were from nobility family, that is noble family, they fought for the peasants, right? Which shows that during French Revolution, people respected the nobles, but in Russia, they did not respect the nobles. Russian peasants worked by pooling their land together and dividing the output according to the needs of the individuals. Here, Russian peasants worked by pooling their land, in the sense they worked on everybody's land. Everybody worked on everybody's land, and when the profit came out, they distributed among themselves. They divided the output, means they divided the profit among themselves. So here you can see again the idea of Robert Owen, that is cooperative society. He advised the cooperative society. So this you can see, that is work together and divide the profit among yourself. So again you can see here socialism. Socialism you can see in the countryside also, and even in the city side. So this is the basically the economy and the Russian society. So socialism in Russia, how it went on. Now we discussed about the society in cities, society in countrysides. the economy, and also the society, how it was. Now, socialism in Russia. Before 1914, all the political parties were illegal in Russia. So, why it was illegal? All the political parties had already been started, that is SPD, in Germany again Labour's Party, but in Russia it was illegal because Tsar Nicholas II was ruling. He had banned political parties. Okay, king had banned political parties. Though it was banned, Russian Social Democratic Workers Party was found in 1893. Okay, though king banned, they found this party, Russian Social Democratic Workers Party, in 1993, which operated secretly as an illegal organization. So, it was as an illegal organization only, but it was operated secretly. Here, Russian socialists thought that Russian peasants were natural socialists. So, basically the Russian socialists who were there, who holded the socialism idea, thought that the basic thought of socialism is in peasants. Russian peasants were naturally socialist. They were the socialists. They were the people who would bring change in the society because of their custom of dividing land periodically as a socialist idea. As I told you, the peasants all pooled their land and divided the profit. So, because of this custom, Russian socialists said that they are naturally socialist. Therefore, it was believed that peasants would be the main force of revolution. Okay, so who believed? Russian socialists believed. Thus, there was one more party formed, Socialist Revolutionary Party. So, one more party. So, here only you can see two parties were already formed, which was secretly operating. Russian Socialist Democratic Workers Party, Socialist Revolutionary Party. Okay, two parties were formed. It is in 1900 by peasants and were operated secretly, and this was also operated secretly. Social Democrats disagreed with socialist revolutionaries over a fact that Russian peasants were naturally socialistic. So few social democrats. So here again you got to see socialist revolutionary were the second party which was formed in 1900, and the social democrats means what? Democrats are the people who are about to give a change. So they disagreed with social democrats disagreed with socialist revolutionaries, that on the idea that peasants are naturally socialist. So they said that peasants are naturally socialist, who socialist revolutionaries said, and social democrats disagreed on this point, that they are not. They said that peasants are not naturally socialist. Who gave this idea? Lenin. Vladimir Lenin. Okay, Lenin felt that peasants were not one united group. He said that they were not one united group because some were rich and some were poor, which was the complete opposite pole, never united. So usually if they are rich and poor, they never unite. They always keep on fighting. There will always be some sort of problem. They will never unite. So Lenin said that in peasants there is no unity and they are not naturally socialist. For a socialism to emerge, there must be, first thing is unity, because some workers some worked as workers and some employed workers. So in peasants, either they are rich or poor, or some worked as workers or some employed as workers. So there is a big gap between them. There is no unity. Who said? Lenin said. Therefore, this differentiation within them didn't allow peasants to be a part of socialist movement. So Because of this difference, they were rejected from becoming a part of socialist movement. Thus, there was a major division made by Vladimir Lenin. Vladimir Lenin. Okay, it was a major division made there. Now, here again there was division made. So, next video will be on the two parties which Vladimir Lenin made, that is Bolshevik and Menshevik, which is basically a majority and minority party. We will discuss it in the next video. Please like, share and subscribe. If any doubts, please put in the comments, and also you can click on the link which is been shared with you in the description box to see my previous videos. Thank you.